Good morning. Oh, squeaky. Where are we? We are here in lovely St Lawrence. Oh, there's a little baby bird there. Not sure what that was. Possibly a baby chaffinch. Just fledged by the looks of it. It was on the path just as I got out of the car. Let's walk down this way. Walking down the trackway towards Woody Head. Sorry, just fiddling with the microphone there. What a lovely day. The drought continues unabated. Just realised I've left my phone in the car. In Flea, sorry Flea. Oh, look at this. Old man's beard in flower. Traveller's joy. It's mid-July 2026. Oh, there's a rabbit. A couple of wood pigeons. Yeah, so we're in the midst of a pretty prolonged drought now. Still classified as a heat wave, I think. Temperature's still above 30 degrees in kind of southern England in places. It's dissipating a little bit, the heat. It's become the new norm, really. 30 degrees is nothing unusual. There's a blackbird. So yeah, we're all kind of getting used to the heat. I mean, obviously here in the Undercliff, well, in places in the Undercliff it gets hotter. On Ventnor Beach it tends to be cooler, 25, 27 maybe. Elsewhere, though, in more sheltered bits of the Undercliff, the temperature does go right up. Hence the Ventnor Botanic Gardens being the warmest place in Britain, apparently. There's some sparrows. Little gaggle of house sparrows up here. I've not got my binoculars with me. Oh, is that a chiff-chaff with them? No, I think it's all sparrows. I thought I saw a movement of a smaller warbler, but no, they're all house sparrows. Lovely to see this little gang of house sparrows. One of the little colonies. Blooming scarce in the Undercliff. There's quite a few little colonies around Ventnor, but here in St Lawrence there are quite a few fewer. There are a lot fewer, better way of putting it. So yes, the van build, what's going on? Some body commented that it's all going too slowly. What are you doing? Was the general comment. That comment was deleted because it wasn't a very positive comment. So it is going slowly. Firstly, I don't have any of the power tools, although I do have some news on that. When you haven't got the power tools, I think what viewers, a few small number potentially of viewers, don't really appreciate is when they watch other van builds, if you look at the context, they tend to be people with yards. They tend to be people with houses and gardens and electricity supplies and all the tools and garages and workshops, some of them. There's a lot of trust fund kids out there who've taken to van life, who have the resources, the money, or they have daddy who has a workshop or a yard or a bit of land they can do work on, and they have all the tools available to hand. I don't have any of that. I'm a minimalist, so I've been living in a car for the last couple of years, and prior to that a Citroen Berlingo, and I got rid of everything. My parents had to sell their house. Well, my mum had to sell her house when my dad passed away, and she's now living in kind of assisted accommodation, sheltered accommodation, whatever you want to call it. So I don't have any kind of house to go to. So I've been a minimalist, which means I've got rid of absolutely everything. I mean, there were a few tools in that house, but they all went. So I'm having to call on friends. You would have seen Matt, who basically used his angle grinder to turn the double seat into a single seat. Matt isn't on the Isle of Wight at the moment, and he's not likely to be able to do anything, help in any way, until next year. He does have all the tools, but he's just not available. He's not even on the Isle of Wight. So, but I do have access to the boathouse, which is an area where I'm storing some of my plywood that came out of the van when Matt took the bed and all that apart. So I've got a little bit of storage for some plywood, and he does have a work top with a clamp on it, and somebody's just lent me a circular saw thingy, which I'm going to use to saw up some timber. So the long and short of it is that I don't have all the gear, and I'm also working quite hard at the moment, believe it or not, on writing reports for a project, well, for 2 separate projects. So yeah, temper your expectations, because the reality is that when you are literally living in a van or in a vehicle, and you are literally a minimalist, it just takes longer to get all the tools together, and you literally have no money. It takes longer, and it's a protracted process. So if you don't want to watch videos where progress seems slow, don't watch these videos. Watch videos from trust fund kids or people that have wealth who are doing van life as a fashion accessory sort of thing. So-called influencers, watch their videos instead if you want instant gratification. If you want to see a van build come together quickly, don't watch this channel. If you want to see a more realistic representation of what it's like to live in a vehicle and to try and transition towards living in a bigger van, then this channel is a realistic representation of it. Anyway, there's a lovely cattle over there. Aurochs. Now, back in the day, in the early Holocene, well, only 300 years ago, these things, the wild ancestors of these things, were still roaming around the European countryside, herds of wild cattle. Look at them now. They would have been bigger. If any of you been to India or other places in Southeast Asia, bits of Thailand and Cambodia, you might have seen wild cattle. The most likely place you're going to see them is India, some of the national parks, Kaziranga, those kind of places. You would have seen herds, or you may have seen herds of banteng, which are wild cattle. They're not domestic cattle. These things would derive, these domestic cattle would derive from herds of wild cattle, similar to banteng in India. We drove those drove aurochs, which was our wild cattle, to global extinction, so now they're globally extinct. But they live on, their genes live on in these domestic forms. So those wild banteng were domesticated. And obviously the cattle, which were the products of that domestication, are still here. But the wild ancestors have gone, they're globally extinct. But anyway, it's nice to see. You know, when I see cattle like this, I don't think cattle, I think aurochs. But aurochs were vastly bigger than these, much bigger. They've been bred to be docile and small, more manageable, in other words, with crossbreeding and over time. What's that? It's a dunnock. So yeah, all these wild flowers you get in these grasslands, they are a direct dependent, I suppose is the way to put it, of wild cattle. So the aurochs would have grazed these grasslands just like these domestic cattle are doing. And the wildflowers that live in these grasslands basically evolved alongside aurochs and tarpan, which is a wild horse. Not sheep, because sheep are not... is it the Middle East sheep? The wild ancestors of sheep? I can't remember. Look at these lovely teasels. Beautiful. Lovely purple flowers with the bumblebees already on them. There's lovely blackcaps singing over there as well. Landowner here has stripped out a lot of the cover, the habitat, and planted some trees, all of which have died. It's no good planting little whips and just leaving them. You need to water them during a drought, otherwise they're all going to die. Well, water them during the summer, it doesn't need to be a drought. One of them is alive over there. Cattle have pushed over the protective things. There's one alive there, but it's been eaten by the cows. I do like farmers, but they often haven't got a clue. Lovely blackcap. So next steps with the van, just to illustrate another point really, I'm waiting for Sikaflex stuff to arrive. Unfortunately it's been delivered by Every and therefore it's been delayed. It should have arrived about 4 days ago. It's still at a distribution plant somewhere. Got an email via Amazon saying, sorry about the delay. We stupidly used Every, which is the worst, most hopeless rubbish delivery company on the planet. Never use Every. Absolute, I'm going to keep my language down, but they're just useless. They usually lose everything and post them in the wrong addresses. What is it about that company? DPD are brilliant. I've never had a problem with DPD. Let's see what plants are over here. But anyway, the Sikaflex should arrive at some point. That's rubber sealant. Going to use that to fill in the holes in the base of the van. What plants are there? Oh, a nice collection. Really nice. Foxglove. Evening primrose. I'd love to have a few evening primroses. How much money have I got on me? I've got a £5. There's a Hebe there as well. What's that? Another. Yeah, is that evening primrose? Could be. That certainly is. What's this one? That's a house plant. Don't want a house plant. I might have to buy. Excellent. Hopefully the owners will collect that money before somebody else does. Right, that's more money spent on plants. Yeah, the Sikaflex is the rubber sealant which will go in the holes in the base of the van, in the bed of the van. Tell me people, should I put Sikaflex down and then put copper 1 and 2 pence pieces over the holes? The Sikaflex will obviously fill the hole, but the coin just seems like a neat way of doubling up. Trouble is it's copper and steel mixing the two. I kind of guess a Sikaflex would lift or would provide a bridge between the two, so they're not directly touching the steel of the main body of the van, won't be directly touching the copper of the 2p coin or 1p coin. So it should be okay. Is it necessary? I suppose with the bigger holes, the coin technique might be the way to do it. I just think that the chemical reaction between two different sorts of metal in contact with each other might just cause rust. But I don't know, tell me in the comments section if you know. And would a bit of Sikaflex between the two, sticking the coin down to the metal work? but so the coin isn't actually touching the metalwork. Would that prevent any of those kind of problems? If such a problem exists? I don't know. Hi, morning. Yeah, I'm not sure. God, it's lovely, isn't it? So yeah, when that arrives, I can fill in all those holes. Then I can lay some battens down. Then I'll be able to lay the ply floor down in the back. And when that's done, so the glue has arrived, so I can glue the battens down. Trouble is the battens haven't arrived yet. If I was in Cornwall, I'd go straight to Trago Mills and buy the battens, because they'll certainly stock them. As it is, I might have to navigate Newport, which is never a good thing. Yeah, so the glue's arrived. I'm using Gorilla grab glue type stuff, the strong, immovable glue. Morning. I've borrowed somebody's multi-tool. I've also ordered my own multi-tool, which is it Aaron Howe, something like that, is the company I've gone for that at least. There is some news on that though. So another company, DCA, has sent me an a random orbit sander to review, which is amazing because I've got so much sanding work to do over the next months. It's a corded one, so it's got a cord on it, which means I'll plug it in the Bluetti. There's pros and cons of battery versus cord ones. And as a van dweller, I can use either because I've got the Bluetti, which will easily drive a sander. Batteries probably slightly better because you can charge up multiple batteries, but being off-grid I still need to use the Bluetti to charge the battery, so I might as well just plug the blooming thing in and use the old inverter, which is quite inefficient, but you know, I'd have to charge the batteries, I'd also have to switch the inverter on, so I don't know. But yeah, so the multi-tool, what I need to do, I got the seat out, the bench seat thing out, but it was on rails, and the ply was cut and laid over the rails, and then the seat plonked on top of the rails and over the ply. So I've taken the seat out, and now it's revealed two big gash marks in the ply where the rail is. So I need to cut a hole in the ply so I can remove the rails. And then I'll be able to tidy the ply up. What I'm going to ultimately do, so temporarily I'll just lay a very thin bit of ply over the holes, or cut some ply to fit in the holes, one of the two, whichever's easiest. Probably glue a thin bit of ply over and put a rug over it temporarily. Put these little plants in here, evening primroses. I particularly like evening primrose. They're very good for, well, they look beautiful and they're very good for moths. Phew, right. What time is it, I wonder? I don't know. It's about, must be coming up for 7:45 or something. Let's go on to my next, whatever I'm doing now before coffee. Hello, buddy. What's up? hello there. So what I need to quickly do right now is to remove, or attempt to get to, the rails which are embedded under this ply. So what they've done is they put the rails down onto the sheet metal of the van, and they've cut the ply over and plonked it over the top with some holes in the ply and the insulation and all that. So I'm going to cut a bigger hole in the ply so I can get down to the rails and lift them out, and then I can cut some ply to fill in the hole later. The reason I'm doing it this way, I could just lift all of the ply, but it is kind of stuck down a bit onto the insulation underneath. They seem to have used some glue in places. I will be replacing this ply eventually because it's got big holes in it here and another big hole over there. But anyway, let's use a brand new multi-tool which I've never used before to see if I can cut through some of this ply. What I'm trying to do at the moment is get through to the bolt head, so I can use a wrench to take the bolt off. To be able to get to that, let's make a bit more room. You're almost certainly shouting at me at the moment because I'm doing this wrong. But it is what it is. What a horrible job. But it is working. Look at that. There's a hidden bolt under there, I didn't know it was there. The question is, will the rail lift out? And what size is it? Too small. Clearly too small. Too big, but closer. That one would do it, I think, but it's a bit too big. That one's too small. Too big. Too small. Too small. That one should do it. Need to put these back in their case. Okay, so I think I've got one that might do it. Definitely do with a an extension thingy. It's all working though. If the rail will lift up. feels like with a little bit more wood cutting, I'm going to be able to get this rail up. one out. Always wear safety goggles, as I didn't. What's the time? 8:34. So one down, one to go. Oh, maybe this one will be a little bit more refined, a little bit quicker. Don't hold your breath, folks. I kind of roughly know what I need to do now. Very roughly. It's going to be a much tidier hole. Yeah, definitely wear a face mask. Or don't breathe when you're doing this, if you haven't got a face mask. If you're an idiot like me, doesn't know what he's doing, not quite far enough. Just a quick point about this ply. It's indoor ply as far as I can tell. So it will soak up moisture over time in this van. Wholly unsuitable. This one might be quite tricky to get off. This rail. Tell me there. They're a different size. That one's the same size. How frustrating this might turn out to be. Very pleased I have this socket set, but this one is going to be a bugger, I think. Because oh, have I got it? I think I might have it. The metal frame of the rail was right up against one edge of the nut or whatever it is. Oh, you're actually coming out? Yes, you are. Whew, there's a relief. These are very awkward to get out when the rail isn't straight. Come on. What's stopping you lifting? There we go. Job done. Rail out. Right, a quick interlude. I really hope you're enjoying my channel, and I get quite a lot of questions. How did you end up living in a car? How do you live in a car? And what are your plans going forward? Well, I've written a book on that subject, Breaking Free, by Cornish van dweller, funnily enough. You can find a link to where to purchase that in the description below this video, and where you'll also find links to my other books, such as this one, oddly enough, which is How to Write a Book on a Smartphone. And this book was actually written on my iPhone Mini 13 using voice to text dictation. And you'll also find this book, Bird Watching Around Ventnor. Link to that in the description below this video, and this one as well, Wildlife Watching Around Ventnor. I've written about 10 books, all of which are linked in the description below this video. Right, let's get back to watching my videos.